What's up, guys? So, what I'm gonna do in this video is break down the numbers of my last deal. I got a nice wire to my business account yesterday for the first time since my first deal. I just want to go through the numbers with you guys and kind of, tell you basically the whole story. So the video may be long because I'm gonna go through all the details. So I apologize for that, but I will break down all the numbers and how everything happened in its entirety. So just stick with me. This was probably about a month and a half ago. Cold call a lady who lives in Texas. So I was calling a property. I was on the foreclosure list in Memphis, Tennessee. She lives in Texas. So we pick up the phone and I'm like, hey, your property scheduled for a trustee sale, yada yada yada. She's like, yeah, I think I'm just gonna let them foreclose on the property. It was my husband's house and he passed away. I can make the payments, but I just don't want to deal with it, blah blah blah. So I was like, hey, if you're gonna let it foreclose anyways, might as well sell it and save your credit. So we had that conversation, got on the line, and we drafted up a contract. So I have contracts and DocuSign that are ready to go. So I just changed a few things and sent it over to her. What we did was we drafted the contract for the full amount that she sent me on her mortgage statement. So it's like this much behind. So I just put that exact number and we submitted it. So I'm sure you guys saw the videos where I'm on the phone with the mortgage company over and over and over again. That was this situation. So I get under contract, right? And I have the contract and I take it to a title lady. She was the best. Her name was Ruth. She's Saddle Creek Title in Memphis, Tennessee. So if you ever need something, Saddle Creek Title in Memphis, Tennessee will take care of you. So I bring the contract to her. She does her thing, does the title search, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, hey, can you give me the payoff statement from the mortgage? Yeah, no problem. So I called the mortgage company. This is the first time. And like I said, me and the seller called this mortgage company, no lie, probably 20 times over the last 2 weeks. So we talked to them a lot. So one of the first conversations, she's like, oh yeah, you need to reach out to the trustees who are handling the foreclosure because they will request the mortgage payoff statement and then send it to you. Awesome, bet. So I called the trustee, talked to the trustee, and they're like, yeah, we can do blah, blah, blah. So I give the lady I'm talking to the fax number of Ruth at Saddle Creek Title so I can just fax it straight to her. So it cuts me out of it. So great. So this was on January 24th, I think. That was like a Wednesday. So I just didn't follow up until Monday. I'm like, hey, Ruth, did you get that fax? And she's like, no, I haven't received anything from them. So I spent all day on Monday sending emails and calling. They weren't answering. And they weren't responding back to my emails. It was just completely ghost. So I'm just blowing them up. Don't hear from them on Monday. So on Tuesday comes around. I call them, right? And I call them while I'm in Walmart waiting for a chiropractor. So I go to like backspace. That's neither here nor there. So I'm just sitting there waiting. So I'm like, man, let me call them real quick. Call them, get somebody on the line. They're like, yeah, we can't talk to you unless we have the seller on the line. Now, mind you, in the meantime, I've already submitted a third-party authorization form to allow myself to speak on her behalf. Now, I'm kind of skipping steps, but a third-party authorization form allows you to speak to the account holder, speak on behalf of the account holder without them on the phone. So I've already turned one in. I've already been authorized with the trustees, and I was thinking the trustee and the mortgage company are together. Well, that I did 2 authorization forms, so I didn't know. So I just called the seller. I'm like, hey, let's 3-way. So we get on, and like if you remember, I said on the 24th of January we requested one. The first lady we're talking to, she's like, yeah, we don't see a request. I'm like, look, at this point it's becoming a hassle trying to get you guys to submit information. All we need is this one piece of paper and then we can close. Right? That's all we need. So we hassle them all day. Needs to say, she's like, yeah, by 1 o'clock, I've already submitted to my supervisor. By 1 o'clock, if you don't hear anything, give us a call. 1:30, I called the seller. I'm like, hey, did they call you back? She's like, no. I'm like, let's give him another call. So we call him, and we're on hold, being transferred to the supervisor. As we're on hold, I get an email with the payoff statement attached, and I'm like, yo, you want to hang up? Like, let's just hang up. I got the piece of paper. Click. So needless to say, I got that over to my title agent, and she was able to do all of her work. So the numbers are like this. So the mortgage payoff ended up being like $78,000 and some change. I had it under contract with the seller initially for 76,000 and some change because that was that was on the mortgage statement at that time. So um, I know a real nice gentleman out in Memphis who buys houses. So I just sent him a text with information, and excuse me, he was like, "Oh, I just rehabbed the property not too far from there. I'd love to go check it out." So again, I'm backtracking because this obviously was happening while everything else was happening. So he gets there and he's like, "Hey man, there's a lockbox on the property." I'm like, "A lockbox? This lady lives in Texas. She doesn't put a lockbox on it." So I got to get the lockbox. So I call the seller and I'm like, "Hey, there's a lockbox on it. Did you know?" She's like, "No, that's probably the foreclosure people." So I call them. "Hey, we're trying to get the lockbox code." And he was like, "Oh, it's the last four of your social." Smooth. So she gives me the last four. I give it to him because he's still at the property. Give it to him, and he's trying to get in, and that number's not working. So I'm like, okay, let me get back up on the phone with this seller so we can call into the mortgage company and ask again. So this time we got another person. In the meantime, like as those 10 minutes go by, somebody from the foreclosure auction comes to do like some kind of testing. So they allowed him access to the property, which was great. So he didn't have to wait on that. But she's like, "Yeah, it's the last four of your account number." So the first time it was the social. This time it's the account number. So I get the four of the account number, give him a call, and he's still at the property. And he's like, "Yeah, let me test it and make sure." So he tests it and make sure it works. Uh, he spent about 15 minutes walking through, and he gave me a call. Now this is my first deal, and I had two buyers who wanted to see the property. If I was smart, I would have had them both go and bid with each other. That's what I would have done if I could do it all over again. But this is my first deal. I just wanted some money in my hand, so I got excited. So I had it listed at 86K. So it was like $9,500 markup. So he gives me a call. He's like, "Hey, I really like the property. The woods rotting, this. You know how it works. They want to talk you down. Everybody wants to get the lowest price they can." And he's like, "Do you have any wiggle room?" And I'm like, "Look, man, this is my first deal. I'm not trying to get rich. I've promised this lady that this property is gonna get taken care of. So I'll take honestly whatever. I'll make $100 for all my time," which was very stupid of me, but that's what I said. He's like, "Man, I want to do deals with you all the time, and I want to put some money in your pocket. So, would you take 82?" I'm like, 82. I got it under contract to 76. That's what, $6,000. So I got it under contract for $76,000. He's like 82. And I did the math. I'm like, that's $6,000. I think I can work with that. I'll take 82. So I sent him a JV contract. I mean, not JV. I sent him an assignment contract right then and there. He signed it in 20 minutes, and I got that over to the title company. And that's when they told me, she was like, "Hey, if you don't plan on keeping the property, turn the assignment contract in with the original contract at the same time, because they do a title search not only on the title but the seller's names and the buyer's names." I didn't know that, and don't quote me on that either. I was just told that by one person. So double check that with your title agency when you get something under contract. Give them a call and be like, "Hey, I want to assign this contract, but I have the contract in my hand. Do you want it now, or do you want me to turn it in with the assignment contract?" So like I said, I don't know how it works. But needless to say, I had it 76, 82, so I'm like, okay, 60 grand spread. That works for me. My first deal, smooth. So we get back the mortgage payoff statement, and the mortgage payoff statement is like $2,000 more than we expected. Obviously, that $2,000 more comes out of my pocket because I've already sold it for 82, and whatever we have to pay off, that amount goes to them, and I just keep whatever's in the middle. I ended up profiting just under $3,900, which that's a win for me. But next time if I were to do it all over again, I would have the people bid so I can get the best price because I had two buyers who were pretty serious. But I just went with the first one who gave me an offer because I wanted the money, I wanted the deal, and I wanted to fulfill my promise to this lady that her property would be taken care of. So needless to say, that's how my first deal worked. I got the lead from cold calling a pre foreclosure home, which I got from a Tennessee public data website. Now I don't suggest this method at all, but there's a public data website for all states. I found it today because a guy was asking me about it, so I looked into it. I used that website, and then I take the address and put it into PropStream, find out the owners of the property. Then I take the owners of the property and go to Fast People Search and skip trace them. Very long process, takes a lot of time, but it's the best free way that I can go about it right now. So I'm gonna do that for probably one or two more deals, and then I'm strictly buying lists because building your own list takes way too much time. Um, so I hope you guys got something out of this. Like I said, this video might be long, and I apologize for that. But I wanted to kind of walk you guys through how I got my first deal. If you have any questions, if there's some that I didn't touch on, feel free to comment. I do really well at commenting back. I left my phone number in the comments on many videos, so people can come to me with questions if they have any, and hopefully I can answer them. If I can't, then I'll point you in the direction of somebody who can. So peace out, my people, and I will talk to you guys soon.